10, 5:30 News.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. Well, COVID case counts continue to climb in Yellowstone County as public health officials urge Yellowstone County residents to get vaccinated. And there's reason for that. The Delta variant is now causing a majority of the new cases in Montana and the United States. Q2's Mitch Legge brings us more.
On Wednesday, public health officials in Yellowstone County held their first press conference in 4 months to urge the community to get their COVID-19 vaccine as the Delta variant sweeps its way through the state of Montana.
And we now find ourselves, along with much of the rest of the country, experiencing more disease and more hospitalization.
County Health Officer John Felton said Yellowstone County now has 50% more confirmed Delta variant cases than any other county in the state. Compared to the start of June, case counts in Yellowstone County have doubled. There's currently 246 active cases in Yellowstone County. Felton and St. Vincent Healthcare Chief Medical Officer Dr. Michael Bush said vaccines are the best way to prevent the virus spread and lessen the severity of the illness. Felton said since the pandemic began, 1,300 people have been hospitalized with COVID-19. Of those people, only 17 of them, or 1.3%, were fully vaccinated. And of the 285 county residents who have died, only 4, or 1.4%, were fully vaccinated.
Vaccination helps reduce the virus spread, and it is the only preventive measure that helps make the disease less severe if a person does get infected.
If the situation does worsen in the county, it will likely take a longer time for any health officer directives to be put in place to curb the spread. New laws passed by the Montana legislature this year stripped power from county health boards and instead gave it to local governments. Felton said he's working with the communities of Billings, Laurel, and Broadview to hammer out procedure moving forward.
Local governments actually make the decisions. Public health can make recommendations. We are still working through how that's going to happen in our community. At this point, we are a ways from making any sort of recommendation for community-wide imposed restrictions. We're kind of at the front end of this thing. You know, we've seen this before, and we know what it takes to slow it down.
Again, the Yellowstone County public health officials said that the community can control this virus. All that it will take is social distancing, masking, and everybody to get their COVID-19 vaccine. Reporting in Billings, Mitch Legge, MTN News.
Well, Felton reiterated the same prevention measures we've all been hearing for more than a year. Get vaccinated, wear a mask in crowded public spaces, wash your hands and surfaces, and stay home if you're sick. With rising COVID cases, retirement communities across the nation are mandating employees get vaccinated to protect the most vulnerable. However, in Montana, a measure passed in the legislature this year now prevents that. Q2's Andrea Lutz tells us how the Delta variant is impacting St. John's United here in Billings.
With an increase in COVID-19 cases reported in Yellowstone County and now with the Delta variant here, our retirement communities in town have been trying extra hard to keep the virus out of their facilities. In fact, they say it's something they haven't stopped doing since the pandemic began.
We're feeling a sense of anxiety.
An anxiety that those with St. John's United say is due to the COVID virus taking a turn.
Community spread of COVID-19, especially with this new Delta variant, is affecting not only the community but long-term care as well.
But President David Trost says residents living here are protected as well as they can be.
Our residents are so well protected. Over 95% of them are vaccinated, and so we're seeing very little impact to our residents.
Still,
but it is breaking through to some.
House Bill 702 passed this last session, preventing discrimination based on vaccination status. That includes employment.
702 has allowed for long-term care facilities to be exempted from its bill if the federal government adds additional rules. A dozen staff from time to time over the last 6 months get COVID-19, and each time that happens, it affects us in a significant way.
Of the 600 residents living here, only 6 have had COVID. The facility does constant surveillance testing and follows federally mandated guidelines. And when it comes to vaccinations, 59% of their staff took the plunge to do it.
That includes both full-time and part-time staff. But the better news I found out recently, our staff who work here the most about 75% of them are vaccinated.
His message for those living outside of these protected grounds: mask up. And if you can get vaccinated, do.
You know, there is no mandates anymore, so it's really about everyone's good common sense.
In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
Well, in response to the Delta variant, St. John's United has decided to change guest protocols for the last event of their summer concert series, including mask wearing and asking folks to again get vaccinated. 2 people are behind bars tonight after last night's crash on First Avenue North and North 13th Street that left a woman dead. Police said in a news release that 19-year-old Peyton Hunter of Billings faces 3 counts of felony criminal endangerment, and 33-year-old Justin Bighair of Gary Owen faces a charge of vehicular homicide while under the influence and 3 counts of felony criminal endangerment. Hunter was driving a Dodge Ram 2500 west on First Avenue North when it collided with a Toyota Tundra driven by Bighair as it was turning east onto First Avenue North from North 12th Street. A 19-year-old woman who was a passenger in the Ram with Hunter died at the scene, while a 31-year-old passenger in the Tundra was treated at the scene and released. Hunter and Bighair were taken to the hospital for treatment, then released into custody of police. Right now, we are right in the middle of the 100 deadliest days of Montana roads, and unfortunately, the numbers this year certainly back that up. Looking at data, there have been more deaths on the roads this year than the past 2 years. MTN's Marion Davidson reached out to MHP to find out what's going on and what can be done.
Any fatal crash is tragic.
Some of the things we see are things that would be in your worst nightmare.
And those tragedies are increasing. According to Highway Patrol data, 12 people died on Montana roads between July 27th and August 4th. So far this year, crashes have killed 136 people.
In recent weeks, we've had some upticks. So currently, year to date, we're roughly about 20% over the last 2 years.
We're in the middle of the 100 deadliest days on Montana roadways, the time period between Memorial Day and Labor Day. But law enforcement is noticing some concerning trends.
Alcohol use, huge increase in that, over 100% from the last 2 years. And so we're seeing an uptick in alcohol and speed, and oftentimes those go together.
There are things you can do to prevent a crash or another death on the road, like slow down, don't drink and drive, and wear a seatbelt. According to the CDC, buckling your seatbelt reduces serious crash-related injuries and death by about 50%.
I've said it my whole career for 23 years, it's the cheapest life insurance you'll ever purchase. I know people's freedoms, they can do what they want, but just putting on that seatbelt is the easiest thing you can do to prevent a fatality collision.
Finally, if you see someone driving dangerously, call it in. Information like car color, make and model, plate number, and location on the highway can help law enforcement out. Simple steps you can take to prevent another tragedy during the 100 deadliest days on Montana roads. In Helena, Marion Davidson, MTN News.
Well, 4 current or former high-ranking female employees at the University of Montana sued the college today in Missoula Federal Court. Their lawsuit says the school administration has a pervasive culture of discrimination and retaliation against women employees, especially those who might question authority. MTN's Mike Dennison has the story.
I think what's important here is that the University of Montana not only created a glass ceiling for these women, they created a brick wall for their careers.
That's Hillary Carls, one of 2 Bozeman lawyers representing the 4 women who filed suit Wednesday. All 4 of the women, including a former dean of students at UM and a former vice president, say their careers suffered if they challenged what they saw as a good old boys club mentality that favored male employees. The suit also singled out UM President Seth Bodnar, saying his leadership allowed a retaliatory culture that sought to intimidate women and threaten their careers if they spoke out against certain policies. Former Dean of Students Rhonda Voorhees says her decisions to enhance security for female or other students were sometimes overruled. And former UM Vice President Catherine Cole, hired to help rehabilitate UM's image in the wake of sexual assault scandals and declining enrollment, says Bodnar micromanaged and often belittled her. The lawsuit says UM and the state university system violated Title IX, the federal law forbidding discrimination based on sex at educational institutions that get federal funds. Shireen Blackford, the other attorney representing the plaintiffs, says the law forbids a system that treats women differently in a negative way.
The way that it can be pervasive is creating a retaliatory culture, creating an environment that isn't necessarily black and white sexual harassment, but something where women don't receive the same treatment as men, and as a result, their benefits that they would have received at the educational institution where they are employed are not the same.
UM spokesman Dave Coons said the college and the state university system strongly believe these claims are baseless and without merit, and that the school is committed to a learning environment free from all forms of discrimination. The suit has only 4 plaintiffs now, but Carl suspects there are other female employees at UM who face similar treatment, and that they can be added to the suit as they come forward. For MTN News, I'm Mike Dennison.
Well, the lawsuit seeks damages for the plaintiffs, but also a judgment from the court that UM violated Title IX and needs to change its behavior toward women employees. Up next on tonight's MTN 530 News here on Q2, we'll take you to Butte, where the final statues have been set up for a memorial honoring the victims of a tragic explosion that happened more than a century ago.
Hey everybody, Scott Breen with the Boulder Arrowhead Little League All-Stars. They're headed to San Bernardino for your regional. Suddenly their chances of reaching the World Series have just doubled. I'll tell you why coming up.
Thunderstorms developing again this afternoon all across the region, but especially across the eastern plains. That's coming with heavy rain and plenty of lightning. Details in a few minutes.